host, and today we will be having podcast on brain aging and how to reverse it and how simple life hacks and simple changes in lifestyle can change everything, and you will learn a lot of practical strategies today so that you could implement it into your day-to-day life and you are able to benefit the your daily habits into your significant improvement in your mental health. This topic regarding brain aging, brain health, dementia, memory loss has been front and center of all the discussions, especially in medical literature, medical offices, specialty offices, because without brain, we are nothing. Brain is the organ which differentiates us from being animals. It gives us ability to think, rationalize, feel, and come up with the action plan. And all these abstract functions is the one which makes us human. It is estimated that all of us, every human being, have about 50 to 60,000 thoughts every day. If you do the math and number of minutes in a day, it is amazing how active our brain is. This is about 2 to 3 pound of jelly like mush, which is primarily made up of water, which is 80%. 12% of brain tissue is fat, 2 to 3% protein. The rest is the electrolytes and minerals and vitamins. So it's a very unique organ. We talk about high protein diet, high fat diet, omega 3 fatty acid, but technically, brain is water with significant proportion in fat and little bit of protein and dab of carbohydrate and vitamin and minerals. It is magical how our brain makes us human and how much does it create such a beautiful system which makes us so unique. As we are getting aging, or as life expectancy is increasing, our lifespan is increasing, but our health span is not improving at the same speed. The concept of a health span and lifespan is very different. Lifespan means number of chronological years you live in this world. Health span means how well you look at, how well we lived. Has to go along together. We all agree in unison. If we are just living in flesh and body and our mental faculties are gone, none of us want to be alive. We all agree that that's not what makes us human. And if we stay the course the way it is, the future doesn't look that bright. Currently, about 45 million people worldwide have significant dementia. And dementia is a significant of our cognitive functions, and it costs about 1.3 trillion with T every year. And most of the cost is related to indirect cost of taking care of people with dementia, all the complication arising out of that. But the problem which we are having is this problem is increasing, and currently in United States, it is estimated that there are about 1.5 billion people who are living with diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, and this diagnosis will double by 2050. And as we are aging, and that's the most of the problem with the Western world, and I'm pretty sure the Asian cultures and the countries will catch up too. As we start keep on living longer and longer life, we have to face this facet of our life where we will have cognitive decline. And if we do not change today, most of us, which are of my age, born in 60s and 70s, we will be a big burden to our society. And the purpose of today's podcast is that we all do certain things today so that we can improve not only our health span, we will improve our lifespan. We talk a lot about doubling our life expectancy in last 50 to 60 years. But if you look at it, this doubling of life expectancy is not coming out of something of our doing. It is a gift by modern science in the form of taking care of or preventive the communicable diseases, antibiotics, and whole host of innovations which has done to make the our life more sustainable, and the recurrent infections and communicable diseases and other food scarcity winning over that. But when it's coming to chronic diseases, which is our diabetes, hypertension, COPD, leading to heart attack, stroke, and death, that is increasing. And if you look at it these days, some people equate diabetes equal to dementia. They are looking at it as because people who develop diabetes or the risk factor for chronic diseases, they technically have a certain lifestyle which in the early ages leads from lifestyle to risk factor to chronic medical problem to leading to chronic complication. So this journey of lifestyle leading to risk factors, chronic diseases, and chronic complications, they all pretty much stem from our personal accountability. We must change our lifestyle, and no matter which chronic disease you pick, you will come to the same conclusion. So the fundamental solution to most of our problem is lies in our lifestyle. When we try to understand brain health, it has been very difficult for most of us to kind of how do we convey the information from just being a vast abstract thing what brain does from here to making you understand how our brain or the system works. We all know brain is the CEO of the body. It controls pretty much everything which happens in our body. But unfortunately, we are not controlling this CEO. This CEO has to have certain requirements. We need to keep check and balance on this CEO. And if we don't do that, we will lead to complications and problems. When we talk about brain health, we must divide what brain does into certain kind of domains or pillars so that we could make it understandable to you. First domain is cognitive functions. All the thinking, all the executive decisions, intuition, imagination, willpower, all these combined problem solving, reasoning, all these problems or all these functions, which does, we call it as cognitive pillar. Every fiber of your each muscle is mapped in the brain, and like a puppeteer, it controls our movements so precisely. Like whenever a finest to finest movement happen, everything is being directed and controlled by the brain. And third domain is the sensory. You feel, touch, smell, taste. All these five senses are the input system to the brain. So, third domain is sensory functions. Fourth is the emotional. Emotions Emotions evolutionary are not designed to make us feel good or bad. They are our radar system. And the way the neural connections of our emotional circuits is, it bypasses your thinking and cognition. Because when there is a threat, nature didn't want us to deliberate what is right, what's wrong. It wanted an action. But that is an impediment in current environment. At this time, there is no cheetahs, there is no saber-toothed tiger chasing us, there is no famine, food is abundant, we are secure, but we create constant alertness and emotional responsive to multiple things, which leads to this hyper functioning of this emotional pillar, emotional domain of brain, leading to anxiety, depression, attention deficit disorders, and multiple other problems. Fifth domain of brain is communication. Brain gets all the information from internal environment in the body and also from the external environment in the body or outside the body, from people, places, things, event, and time. Everything gets sent to the brain and it is processed. Now, brain has to communicate in terms of action and reactions, which is our physical activity, or other cognitive functions through language. Language is body's way of communicating itself through either spoken language or through written language or sign language, whatever the way you want to say, but that is the way brain has to communicate. Last function of brain is it controls every organ system in the body either through hormones or through autonomic nervous system. So when we are looking at the brain health, we must look brain health through six domains: cognitive functions, motor functions, sensory functions, language or communication, and the regulation of our homeostasis and emotions. And these six domains basically, if we don't take care of our daily habits, we will lose functions of that. This explanation will be the simplest way to understand the brain. But brain, as we know, is a lot more complex than the way I have been trying to explain you this one is. Brain, like any organ, has a blood supply, It needs to have a nutrition. It needs to rest. It needs to rejuvenate. It needs to protect itself from external environments. And then it is expected to perform 100% of the time to best of its capabilities all the time, 24-hour basis, because no organ sleeps and the brain doesn't sleep either. Brain is continuously processing the information, and it is updating its connections, removing connections, and doing this part of it. Is lot of authorities are also working on to create models of brain function. And one of the model which is very prevalent, or they are doing a lot of work in this one, that is Center for Brain Health. You could visit that site, centerforbrainhealth.com, and I think they have done a beautiful job in explaining what I'm trying to explain you in essence, how brain works. And they have come up with two beautiful ideas how to do the self-assessment. Yes, we talked about six domains of life, six domains of brain function. But the question comes in is, how do we, if I want to assess my brain health, how do we do that? And they have come up with a beautiful concept which is called brain health index. What that only means is based on certain functions which brain does, if you group them into certain groups and you do inventory of your self assessment, you will be able to understand yourself, or you will be able to understand your current state of affair. As per brain health index, they basically group your brain functioning into three groups. One is the clarity in its action, second is connectedness, and third is the emotional balance. Let's talk about clarity. Clarity means clarity in attention, understanding, critically thinking, storing into memories, and also in connectedness, how connected you are with yourself and also connected with the social environment, which defines meaning of life, resilience, and large host all of activities which makes us human and makes the life worth living. So everybody, I think, is moving towards this, trying to define a comprehensive model so that we could understand ourselves. There is a lot of research how we could affect cognitive functions of ourselves. We know for a fact, in spite of brain being the CEO of our body, but it is the laziest organ because it can be. CEO has the capability to either automate the things, delegate the things, or not do the things. So brain has developed evolutionary a system which is your lies in your primitive or brain, where anything you do repeatedly, it converts into habits, your conditioned responses, and also it developed a rule of thumb which we call heuristics. That necessarily doesn't mean brain is accurate all the time. Capability to automate or delegate. And that's where this whole beauty of health, brain health index, brain functioning comes through. That part of it is. So brain has to process so much of information every day. And that's why brain does what it does. Brain is automating the things. Say, for example, we eat food and digestion. There is no sense for brain function to be dedicated significant amount of processing power, whether this food needs to be digested, absorbed, and assimilated. You have to breathe, your heart has to beat, and the same way, certain repeated habits which lead to our problems like smoking, drinking, drugs, all those things, if you do repeatedly, it will automate it and make it a part of yours. Brain does not have a right or wrong response. Brain only knows stimulus and response, and you provide constant and significant stimulus, it will process it. So brain has to have blood supply. It has to do all those things which we talked about. The ultimate unit of brain is a single cell, which is neuron. Neuron has a body. From there, a long rope-like structure rises, which we call axon. And in the end, axon divides into multiple small hair-like structures, which we call dendrites. And these dendrites make connections they with other cell bodies, axons, and dendrites. But the beauty is one dendrite or anything does not come in physically contact. There is a space. In that space, there is chemicals which we call neurotransmitters. They are produced, destroyed, and used, leading to action or stimulation of different neurons, and which leads to different feelings, emotions, and thinking. Part of it is or actions in the brain. Brain is a electrochemical machine, and this machine is pretty big if you look at it. There is about 80 billion neurons in the brain. And if you count all the connections, each neuron making it up to a 10,000 connections. And if you compute the battery power of this thing, it comes about almost 2.5 million millivolts of of a battery, which is not that every cell is firing at the same time and it's going to explode. But the point here is it is a very, very active organ. It's only 2% of your body, but it uses 20% of your total energy consumption. And the preferred way what brain likes is glucose. So this glucose needs to be brought to the brain. For that, you need proper food and your channels, which the arteries, which needs to be clean. And then we need to provide adequate amount of fat, water, electrolytes, minerals in the diet. Also, we need to provide diet, which is precursor for the neurotransmitters or the chemicals, which leads to communication in different synapses and different part of the brain. So when we talk about brain health, what are the things which we need to improve or change, which will be important for brain health? Number one, you, today I was reading, and there was a one quote from one of the philosopher in relation to our personal habits. That philosopher said, we are like an experiment of life. The way if you put a frog and you slowly start increasing the temperature so slowly that the frog skin cannot immediately feel it, and you could boil the frog and it will be all dead in it and it will never know it. And he was using this analogy in relation to our personal habits. We start these bad habits so slowly that we are accumulating the risk factors and leading to chronic complication and eventually is killing us, like that frog who gets boiled and never knows it. That's how our lifestyle is doing to us. What are the things which are important in this process? Let's start with Diet. We will explore the diet in relation to what is required for the neuron. We will look this in relation to the myelin sheath around the axons. We will also look the diet in relation to neurotransmitters. Let's talk about diet for the neuron. As I said, for brain to function properly, it needs carbohydrates or it needs glucose. Anything which will raise your sugar significantly will cross blood-brain barrier and your brain will be flooded with the glucose to the toxic levels, and then it will crash and you will have a mental fog. Brain prefers continuous constant supply of glucose and which can only be provided with complex carbohydrates. What is simple carbohydrate and what's the complex carbohydrates? Simple carbohydrates are easy to mention. All sugars, all cakes, cookies, pasta, donut, artificial sweeteners, they all are simple sugars. Complex sugar is that when this food goes into your intestine, your gut juices have to work on it and have to break it into simple sugars and which are continuously and slowly getting absorbed into circulation so that you raise or keep your sugar at a steady level. That is what your brain prefers. Brain can use ketones, and there is a lot of debate these days regarding keto high fat diets. But if you look at the data over the period of expanded period of this thing, these high fat diets are directly toxic to the brain tissues. And in long term studies, it is not recommended to stay on unhealthy doses of fat and unhealthy doses of protein. Second, brain is 80% water. Keep yourself well hydrated. Usually, the dictum is you let your thirst control how much you're going to drink. But for brain health, it's estimated that you should drink up to 2 liters of water every day, unless you have any other medical problem which contradicts it. If you are ever feeling tiredness, mental fog, look for water. And also, the studies have looked into nature's water, which is coconut water and aloe vera juice. They all have looked into that and they found that they also are very helpful in depleting electrolytes and minerals, but predominantly 2 liters of water. Then your cell needs vitamins and minerals, which should be provided through with the water. The biggest thing which we are seeing is most of the population in the Western world is not drinking water. They are depending on the artificial sweet artificial drinks, and those are devoid of totally minerals and electrolytes. So it is recommended the hard water, the tap water, so long as filtered, is probably best for your brain. And if you have a good filter so that it does not have any kind of biological particulates, but that will be the best for your brain. Then vitamin D, because it's required for the functioning of the brain through calcium, and vitamin B1, B6, B9, B12, they all help brain cells to function properly. There is a significant amount of data coming in that vitamin E also kind of stabilizes the neuron cell wall. So all B vitamins, C, D, E, they all are helpful for your brain health. Now let's talk about what does the myelin sheath, which is around your the rope-like structure or the axon which comes from the cell, what that prefers. That's a primarily omega-3 fatty acids, which is high in salmon, sardine, but on significantly good quality, you could get it through walnuts and also chia seeds and flax seeds. Vitamin B12, vitamin D, iron, and magnesium. That is what your myelin sheath prefers. Neurotransmitters. You know, we feel anxious, we feel sad, we feel satisfied, we feel motivated. This is in term of brain health. It is all neurochemistry. It's the cocktail of different hormones which are circulating in your brain at a given point that is provoking all these states. The feel good hormone is serotonin, that is directly related to your memory, your depression, your anxiety. And chicken, beef, turkey, egg is a good source of tryptophan, the amino acid which gets converted into serotonin. Dopamine is your motivation hormone. Nothing starts with any motivation. Again, animal fruits, food like beef, pork, fish have significant amount. Almonds and avocados, they have significant amount of tyrosine, which is the precursor for dopamine. GABA, which is a hormone which reduces anxiety and calmness. Again, very good source is the animal food. Acetylcholine, eggs are the best source for that. Peanuts, liver, fish, navy beans, pinto beans, they are high in acetylcholine. Then norepinephrine, like when we drink coffee, we become alert and attentive. That is your norepinephrine. And the precursor for that is tyrosine, which is same as dopamine. So if you have lean animal proteins, egg, nuts, and seeds, you will be able to meet all the requirements for neurotransmitters. Now comes this the what are the habit wide, what are the changes, what do we need to change on daily basis? Our A is the exercise. We must start exercising today. Exercise is very important because without exercise, we lose brain cells. It is estimated that we lose about 10,000 neurons every day. And by the time we are 40, the decline has already started happening. How do we replace brain cells is through exercise. Whenever we exercise and exercise hard, there is a brain derived neurofactor we call BND that stimulates the stem cells in the brain and we produce more brain cells. Brain is not which is static. We used to think in the past that whatever cells we are born with or we have it, nothing changes. Now we know for a fact that exercises increases your brain cells. So that's why if you want to maintain, in addition to your diet, which we talked about, exercise is the second thing you must incorporate into your daily habit that will lead to maintain your cognitive function. Next is sleep. Sleep is fundamentally very, very important for our brain health. 7 to 9 hours is the recommended for your brain to properly rejuvenate and recover. Then what brain doesn't like? Brain absolutely does not like anything which is simple sugar. It does not like smoking. It doesn't like alcohol. All the contaminants in water and food, which is lead, mercury, pesticides, air pollutants, arsenic, brain absolutely does not like that because that lowers or that kills the brain function. So if we want to improve our mental health, we need to eat right, we need to sleep 7 to 9 hours, we must exercise, and we must avoid environmental pollutants, because if we do not do that, our brain is really paying the price. Now, let's look at the medical side of it. Medically, all the what are the biggest killer in, in our Western world? Heart attack, stroke, and cancers. And why do we develop? High blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, smoking, obesity, lack of exercise. So, if we want to really eliminate and we want to have a full longevity of life and we want to continue to improve, we must pay attention and we must prevent those risk factors. If, God forbid, you have high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, let's start changing now. Nothing is fixed. We could start the change today. Let's see your physician, get yourself properly screened, make sure your blood pressure is adequately controlled, your sugar is well controlled, your cholesterol is controlled. And now we have a lot of neuroprotective medications which we could help you with that, which will prevent future complications. In the end, when we talk about brain health, it will always come down to individual credibility. Knowing and awareness is one part, but doing and practicing is the second part. What will happen if we continue to educate ourselves but do not convert into action and we do not take care of ourselves? We will not produce any results. And fortunately, one good thing about the brain health does to us, it does educate us about all the good things too. There is a ton of material, exercises, resources which are on fingertips for all of us to improve. The goal here is to make a commitment for short term and long term, and we must change our daily habits. If you review literature regarding lifestyle changes, it must start with your sleeping pattern. You must have a daily schedule, what time you sleep and what time you get. And you must dedicate time, especially in the morning, for the exercise. It is estimated that people who exercise exercise and staying active and preventing chronic risk factors and chronic complications. Second, we must manage our stress and daily activities. Rest life has to take its own shape and take care of the things. But if we do eat right, food which is balanced, we are not going after any fad diet, but we are going in a balanced diet, which is primarily fruits and vegetables, quality meat, quality fats, and whole grains, legumes, exercise, sleep, and keep ourselves hydrated. And also, we prevent smoking, don't drink avoid drugs, and manage our internal and external environment, we should be able to prevent memory loss and cognitive brain decline so that we could enjoy our life in the later stages of life. Not only the technology and the medical sciences are offering us a long health span, I think having a good quality lifespan depends on us. And I have seen this thing in action in my own home. My father is 89. He's still full of energy. Mentally, nothing is changed in him. He could still remember 16 digit of any count number or anything backward or front. Yes, his body is 89. He's a little weak and fragile, but still goes along. And whatever the good habits he had was he always exercised, always controlled his emotions, stayed in the balance neither on this side or that side. And he is in touch with himself, and he preferred to stay in India because that is where there is a lot of social interaction and connectedness happens. To live and maintain our brain health, not only we need food, sleep, exercise, rest, we need social connection. And we are finding it out is that people who are socially connected, and it doesn't have to be family member, with anybody, which provides the meaning, purpose, stimulation, and motivation to maintain their reason why one should get up in the morning and what is the reason to be alive. I think that is very important. I hope you are able to put some pearls of wisdom out of it. The message which I wanted to convey personally after researching for myself and for my patients is, let's all want to eat right, prevent processed foods, exercise, sleep, rest, and connect with ourselves and our environment. Thank you very much for giving attention. My name is Dr. Kulmeet Kanlas. We have a YouTube channel, Kunlas MD, and on other social media platforms. Please comment on our content. I think that is very important because that gives us a feedback on what are the changes you would like to see in our content and what are the changes you would like to see. We will meet you again in next session. And thank you very much. Have a great day.